Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, Immortal Hulk, Flatline. And this was alright. This was a one shot. The whole entire thing is done by Declan Shalvey. In fact, let me get that out of the way right now. Seriously. Flatline. Story, art, colors, and cover by Declan Shalvey. All right. The letters were done by VC's Corey Petit, and the variant cover was done by Kevin Nolan. Aside from that, Declan Shalvey. You know, the guy that did all the art for the Moon Knight with Warren Ellis. Yeah, that guy. So he's a fantastic artist. Is he a great writer? Let's say not yet. Anyway, let's start some preview pages and all that good stuff. This wasn't bad. Look, if you've never read a single issue of the Immortal Hulk, you could read this with one exception. There's a part in here where Bruce says, "I die every day." Anybody who's not familiar with the immortal version of the Hulk, you're going to say, "Wait, what do you mean Banner dies every day? That doesn't make sense." But if you've read a single issue, you're probably okay with it, you know? You could completely skip this book and never even think about it. It doesn't have anything to do with the Immortal Hulk. Even while a lot of the stories out there, that aren't done by Ewing, that are basically, that Immortal Hulk is basically a nice little cash grab for some customer, or for Marvel, right? Here's an extra book that we could sell, make a couple extra books, because if it says Immortal Hulk, it's gonna freaking sell. I bought it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, come on. We're going to buy the freaking book. We're all interested in the book. But for the most part, you don't need to. You don't. It doesn't have anything to do with the story. It's completely outside of the continuity of the story. Bruce Banner is alive and on Earth, and it's the smarter Hulk. This might have been from the first couple of days of him being the Immortal Hulk. You know what I'm saying? After he finally got himself out of orbit. Remember that Avengers story? Anyway, excuse me. This was, whatever. It's for the most part, it's a completely throwaway story. A brand new character is introduced that, for the most part, I don't think that anybody ever is going to care about this. You might get a couple speculators who are going to cross their fingers and they're going to be hugely disappointed because I can't imagine this character going anywhere. I can't imagine anybody looking at this character and going, like seriously, 5 years from now, someone might go back and look at this character and be like, "Oh, I wonder if there's something cool I could do with it." And I'd be really surprised if they could. So you want to grab it? Sure, but only get it cover price. Possibly even wait for it to go to the dollar bin because it's going to go to the dollar bin. I can promise you that. You know what I'm saying? Basically, it's a new character who shows up, and she's actually a former professor. It's not much of a spoiler. She's a former professor of Bruce, and she doesn't say a single thing of any importance the entire time of this comic book. Like, there's some things that you'll read in here where it's like, "Oh, this looks like it's going to be good," and it literally goes nowhere. Again, I'm not here to blame Declan Shalvey. I'm simply pointing out some of the flaws in the writing style, because you're not going to find too many flaws in the art. I mean, let's just, call a spade in this one. But as far as trying to do the writing aspect of the comic book, there was a lot of flowery language in here. And I think that for the most part, everybody knows that the whole purpose of flowery language is when you don't actually have anything to say. You don't have anything worth saying. We could have just had a silent issue, and this probably would have been better to wonder, who is this person? Maybe have something said on the very last page or the last couple of pages, where that would have actually explained things. Like a silent issue, for the most part, probably would have been preferable to what happened in this book. There was almost nothing said in this book that made any kind of sense, in so much as relevancy towards the characters that we're reading in the Immortal Hulk. It has nothing to do with Bruce Banner, nothing to do with the Hulk. She talks and she's saying "big man," and she's not talking to Bruce when she says that, and then she's not talking to Hulk when she says that. So it's like, is there somebody behind him? Because each time she says "big man," they're both assuming they're talking about them, and it's like she's like, "I'm not talking to you." It's like, okay, you know what? Like, it's look, man, as a person who used to be a professor, I'm still a teacher, but who used to teach at university, who was called professor, bro, there's a certain responsibility with that. And yes, it's a teaching thing, but it's like you have to want to be taught. And this wasn't a lesson that anybody was interested in learning. There wasn't anything worth learning in this. There was nothing of any value in this. There was nothing that you or I could glean from this. I don't care if you're older or younger. There was nothing of any import whatsoever in regards to what was said in this comic book, beginning or end. When you find out what the character is all about, it's still like, yeah, okay, who cares? Who cares? The story in and of itself, completely thrown away. Like I said, if it was a silent issue, maybe it would have had a little bit more impact for me. I read this and I'm like, honestly, who cares? Who cares? You know? If somebody would have told me this, I would have believed them and I would have just sat the one out. You know what I'm saying? If somebody, you know, who I respect, I'm like, cool, I'm happy to sit this one out. So I'm not saying that you might wind up being disappointed reading this book. It is what it is. There was literally one really cool part of this book that pertains to me specifically that actually made me enjoy this book as I close this one out. And I'm going to show it to you right now. Guys, like the video, watch an ad, Professor Bill, Comic Book University. See?